Continuing in our Super Smash Bros. Costume Origins mini-series, today we'll be taking a look at the different appearances of the Pokemon characters. Because Pokemon have very few different appearances in their actual games, and don't have clothes that you can simply change the color of, developers are required to get a little more creative. So let's jump into the Pokemon universe with, of course, Pokemon's mascot, Pikachu, who was first playable in Smash 64. All of Pikachu's costumes involve different colored party hats in order to distinguish different players. However, if you look closely, the shade of each costume also differs slightly. This is because in the Pokemon Stadium series, giving Pokemon nicknames can cause their appearance to change slightly. Certain nicknames can result in a reddish Pikachu, a lighter Pikachu, or a greenish Pikachu. While Pikachu didn't gain any new costume slots in Super Smash Bros. Melee, both the red and green costumes were given different hats while still maintaining their respective colored shades. The red alternate gives Pikachu Red's hat, who is the main character of Pokemon Red, Blue, and Yellow. Also, between the release of Smash 64 and Melee, shiny Pokemon were introduced in the main series Pokemon games. As a result, Red Pikachu now serves as a reference to shiny Pikachu, even though the red hue existed prior to shiny Pokemon. Meanwhile, Pikachu's green costume is simply given a cowboy hat for no real reason at all, just as a Smash original. Pikachu still only received 4 costume slots in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but again, 2 of the costumes have been changed from the previous game. Pikachu's green alt now contains Brendan's green headband from his appearance in Pokemon Emerald, replacing the cowboy hat altogether. Pikachu's blue costume replaces the old party hat with the goggles that were worn by Pichu in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Because of 8-player Smash, Pikachu finally receives 8 total costume slots in Smash for 3DS and Wii U. The 4 costumes from Brawl remain, and the blue party hat costume from Smash 64 and Melee makes a return. Finally, 3 brand new costumes have also been added. The first finds Pikachu wearing Ethan's hat from Pokemon Heart Gold and Soul Silver. The second is a shiny Pikachu wearing the Choice Band item. And the last is a Pikachu wearing Callum's default hat from Pokemon X and Y. Next, let's take a look at probably the most random choice of characters added in Smash 64, Jigglypuff. Again, Jigglypuff's costumes are very simple in Smash 64. They're just wearing different colored bows. And just like with Pikachu's alternate costumes, the blue and green costumes give Jigglypuff a very slightly changed color based on their nickname system from Pokemon Stadium. Moving to Melee, the costumes are still rather generic, however each color does get its own headwear for more distinction. Jigglypuff's blue costume keeps the bow from Smash 64. Her red costume gives her a red hibiscus flower behind her ear. Her green costume famously has Jigglypuff wearing a green headband. And her yellow costume gives her Princess Peach's crown. 3 of Jigglypuff's costumes change in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but she doesn't gain any new costume slots. First, she gets a white costume, which gives her Leaf's hat from Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. Her previous blue bow costume is now changed to give Jigglypuff the straw hat worn by bug catchers and ladies in the Pokemon games. Finally, her green headband is replaced with the green hat worn by Kirby when he obtains the Sleep ability, a nice reference because of Jigglypuff's relationship with Sleep and Sing. Jigglypuff gets 3 new costumes in Smash for 3DS and Wii U. The first simply gives her a red ribbon, which appears to be a Smash original. The second gives her Nurse Joy's hat from her appearance in Pokemon X and Y. Finally, to match Pikachu, Jigglypuff is given Serena's default hat and sunglasses from Pokemon X and Y. Very briefly, let's take a look at Pikachu's clone, the joke character Pichu, who appears only in Super Smash Bros. Melee. Pichu's red costume simply has him wearing a red scarf, a Smash original. Pichu's blue costume gives it a blue scarf and goggles, similar to the appearance of the swimmers in Pokemon. Finally, Pichu's green costume gives it a green scarf and backpack. Strangely, this backpack is the exact backpack that Ness wears in Super Smash Bros. Melee, only green instead of yellow. Next, let's look at the iconic Mewtwo, who debuted in Melee due to the popularity of the first Pokemon movie. Mewtwo's first alternate is again a possible color shade available in Pokemon Stadium. Next is a blue alternate color, which I wasn't really able to find an origin for. I can only assume that this was added because of Team Smash requiring all characters to have a red, blue, and green color swap. Finally, and this one is big, Mewtwo's green costume is a shiny Mewtwo. This is one of the only instances of a Pokemon shiny appearance being in Smash where the shiny color is a drastically different color than the actual Pokemon is normally. Yes, shiny Pikachu and shiny Jigglypuff do appear in the games, but those aren't really that different. Shiny Mewtwo is much different than regular Mewtwo. Mewtwo wasn't included in Super Smash Bros. Brawl, but of course he returned in Smash for 3DS and Wii U as the very first DLC character. Strangely, all of Mewtwo's melee costumes appear in this version of the game except for his shiny form. And only one of his 5 new costumes has a genuine origin, and that's the Shadow Mewtwo costume, which of course references the appearance of Shadow Lugia from Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness. The remaining 4 costumes turn Mewtwo brown, pink, yellow, and light blue. Mewtwo didn't appear in Super Smash Bros. Brawl because he was replaced with Lucario, the mascot of the 4th generation of Pokemon games. Lucario's costumes really don't have much of an origin either. The only one with a slight reference is a lighter blue alternate, which does reference the off-colors of Lucario's pre-evolution form, Riolu. Aside from this, there is a reddish Lucario, a white Lucario, and a greenish Lucario. Lucario was given 5 new costumes in Smash for 3DS and Wii U, with one previous swap being retired. The white Lucario is now replaced with a gray Lucario, who looks similar to the white form but just a hair darker. Next, Lucario got not 1, but 2 purple alternates, one bright vivid purple and one darker purple. He also received a darker blue variant and an all green variant. Again, I can't really find an origin for many of these. They just seem to be simple Smash originals added to the game because of the need to have every character have 8 costumes. Brawl's most unique addition to the Pokemon series was the inclusion of Pokemon Trainer, the character resembling Red with 3 starter Pokemon in a single character slot: Squirtle, Ivysaur, and Charizard. This compilation of characters has 5 total costume swaps. First, the red costume gives the trainer a hat that resembles his female counterpart, Leaf. Squirtle is given a color scheme that fits his immediate evolution, Wartortle. Charizard is given the opposite treatment with a color scheme that references his pre-evolution, Charmeleon. Finally, Ivysaur is simply given a reddish hue. Next is the green set of costumes. This time, the trainer is given a look similar to Brendan from Pokemon Emerald. Both Squirtle and Ivysaur receive their shiny variations, but again, these are already pretty similar to their original color schemes. Meanwhile, Charizard is given this weird puke green colored skin. The blue set of costumes don't really reference anything. All of the characters are simply given more blue assets than usual. Both the trainer's hat and shirt become predominantly blue, Squirtle's shell becomes blue, Ivysaur's bulb is blue, and Charizard simply looks vaguely blue while still kind of looking red at the same time. Finally, the brown set of costumes seems to be a more retro throwback style, referencing the original black and white days that these characters debuted on. Charizard also vaguely references his starting form, Charmander's shiny appearance. Of course, this mess of characters all slammed into one would have been too much for the 3DS version of Smash to handle, so only Charizard returns in this latest installment. Aside from his 5 costumes in Brawl, Charizard gains 3 new ones as well, and these have actual references. Hooray! First is an all-white costume, which references the appearance of Aerodactyl, possibly due to the episode of the Pokemon anime, Attack of the Prehistoric Pokemon. In this episode, Ash's Charmeleon evolves into Charizard in order to prove itself against an Aerodactyl. The second new costume is a blue one, which mimics the appearance of the Pokemon Zubat and Golbat, blue skin with purple wings. Finally, a weird purple color is present. However, there is a very slight possibility that due to the design and practicalities of adding the Metroid villain Ridley, this purple costume is meant to be a reference for Ridley in place of him being in the game. If this is the case, I think this is a very nice tribute to the character as well as to the fans who rally for Ridley's addition every time a new Smash game is being developed. Finally, Smash for 3DS and Wii U brought along another starter, Greninja, this time from the Generation 6 Pokemon games. Greninja's first costume is a red costume, which references the Pokemon Crawdaunt, possibly due to the upcoming remakes Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Next is a pink costume, which serves as a reference to Lickitung and Licky Licky. This is because Greninja wraps its tongue around itself as a sort of scarf, so this is a nice reference to two other Pokemon with gigantic tongues. Continuing the theme of Pokemon with tongues, Greninja's purple costume references the water Pokemon Shelder, who often sticks its tongue out. Greninja's black costume is a rare reference to its shiny form, though the tongue is the usual orange instead of red like in the Pokemon games. Still, it's nice to see a reference to the shiny Pokemon. Finally, Greninja has 3 more generic costumes: a lighter purple appearance, a green appearance, and a gray appearance. And that's it for all of the Pokemon costume origins. If you guys enjoyed, don't forget to hit the like button, and if I missed a reference or I got something slightly or absolutely completely wrong, please don't hesitate to leave me a comment. A good handful of these costumes did not have a specific reference, but there is the possibility that I completely missed something, so it's always nice to read those comments. As for next time, let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video on the Zelda series costume origins, or a video on the origins from the Donkey Kong, Yoshi, Wario, and Punch-Out series. That's gonna be it, guys. Thank you all so much for watching, and have a great day.